I don't mean to interrupt you, Tony, but that had to be a Jim Dandy. That was a Jim Dandy race, man.
You got to understand, we just go to work every day. This is our version of golf.
I started crying there, honestly. Like, it's a lot of work to win one of these, man. You got a lot of good race cars here, and it's just tough.
Well, race fans, we welcome you into the first installment of a new DIRTVision exclusive Weekend Warrior. Cap Henry is the 2024 Attica Raceway Park champion. He just opened up the 2025 campaign with a victory lane appearance the other night. And Cap, we thank you for your time. We're grateful that you're here. It's been a quite successful calendar year for you in 2024, and you started off this season on the same foot. You were the Ohio Sprint Speed Week champion, as we said, the Attica Raceway Park champion, and now you look to defend that crown in 2025. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with us here this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a cool opportunity.
Some of these race fans, they show up to their home track each and every weekend, and while there's guys that race nationally and race fans are able to see them maybe once or twice a year, you were somebody that is a constant at Attica Raceway Park. Obviously, you have your own personal goals to rack up checkered flags and trophies and find your way to victory lane. But being the face of a racetrack and the face of a series at Attica, what does that mean to you personally? I
mean, I'll be honest. I try to not put a lot into it. It's really easy to dwell on things like that and get stagnant. I always look at the guys that were at this point ahead of me on, like the feature win lists, Mark Keegan and Byron Reed. Those are guys that locally people still talk about. And Mark hasn't raced in a long time and Byron just stopped racing. So those guys, they're still talked about how great they were. And I guess the end goal for me is that one day I hope that that's me. Hope that guys are like, man, Cap was, in the mid 20s, 2020s, Cap was so successful and did this, So I guess that's kind of my motivation and push, is that someday, to be talked about the way those guys are now.
Was there any extra nerves or jitters knowing that for you specifically coming in to defend a track championship that you needed to start off 2025 as strongly as you were able to?
Anybody that really knows me knows that I absolutely hate the first race of the year. I never feel like I drive well. I feel like I'm just off. Last year I crashed. We flipped in the heat race the very first night. So it was just man, just don't do that again. Let's just start off the year better than what we did. Hot laps, felt good right away, which normally doesn't happen. So that was a big confidence booster. The Attica format, being quick time overall, all I had to do was just transfer and I got to make the redraw. So that was about what we did. And, redrew the 8, started, 8th for the feature. And I think by lap 8 or 9, we had drove into the lead and just had a really, really good car. That's just a testament to, Zach and all the work that he did in the off season, and Gary Griff with our engine program, and Doug Berryman with our shocks. I think it gives them more credit than it does to me. They had the car right, and I was luckily the one sitting in it. As dumb as it sounds, I think we were kind of aided by a wing valve that was messed up. The wing would move itself backwards faster than what I wanted it to. I looked up at lap 8 or 9 and looked up at the wing and the thing had already trunked itself. So I think for the conditions, it kind of helped us out and made the car better than what it probably should have been at that point.
How challenging was that to kind of stay focused and maintain the top spot?
It was tough, paying a lot of attention to it, looking up the wing every straightaway and trying to get it positioned back to where I wanted it. And, finally when I started racing Craig pretty hard there, I just quit worrying about it and was I'll just drive differently to compensate for it, because it was too hard to try and, look at the wing, look at where Craig was on the racetrack and make sure I wasn't driving into him. Considering how the racetrack was, it actually wasn't a huge hindrance for the wing to be trunked up the whole time, and, lucked out that the conditions made it okay. It's where I learned to race. So it just, obviously my style fits where I learned to race at. And usually it's pretty multi-groove. So, being able to move around and, come up with different lines works in your favor. That's something I, had to learn when I was traveling all the time, was, learning to not be stagnant while you're racing and move and figure something out if the car's not good. So I think just all those little things combined have made it towards a track that I run pretty well at.
Put us behind the wheel, if you can, of a lot of these drivers that we talk about at the national level. They're traveling from week to week, different setups, different racetracks. What is the challenge of trying to kind of outsmart, outmaneuver your competitors, knowing that it's the same racetrack. The setup doesn't change maybe to the degree that it would at a completely different racing surface, but also knowing that it's a bit of a chess match, knowing a lot of the guys you're racing, you're going to see week in and week out.
It really lets us perfect our car. So when you race the same track week in and week out, you can almost compare it to going testing. So you can go to the racetrack with the plan that, hey, we're going to change the car a little bit and see if it's better, see if it's worse. And since it's, the track's not always prepared the same, obviously, but since it's, similar, you can kind of go there and you can try little things, versus when you're out on the road, you'll see tracks that you'll go to one track and it's got completely different dirt the next time you're at a different track. So it's so hard to try and compare notes, when you're on a national scale, that you just can't do those little things and maybe see quite as much of a change. But it does add the fact that you're constantly racing the same guys. So you kind of, to an extent, you kind of got to know who you're racing, and you gain that when you race them all the time. You know how somebody's going to race you versus another guy. At times, I think it's a little bit easier that way. You're not always against new people, so you kind of can learn people's habits and race accordingly.
You're a weekend warrior at your home track, but you also have the capability to go out and race nationally if you want to. What does it look like, from week to week?
I'm pretty fortunate that I work at a motorsports-based company. I work at SCS Gearbox. We sell, what we sell for the sprint car world is quick change rear end gears. And quite a few guys out there run our stuff. Off the top of my head, Danny Dietrich runs our stuff. Joey Cotta, AJ Flip runs our gears. During the early part of the week, I do sales and tech support for SCS. And then at night, my crew chief, Zach Myers, and I, that's when we get the car ready. Usually a couple days after work for us is spent at the shop, going through the car, going through, truck, trailer, tires, all that stuff.
You're coming off of that track championship. You were the Ohio Sprint Speed Week winner. With all of that success, what is the goal for this year?
One of the goals I had set, and there's no good way to say this without it sounding arrogant, but I wanted to get back into double-digit wins this year. Last year, I think we only came up with 8 or 9. The year before, we won 11. So wanted to try and get back to double digits. Goal was definitely to try and defend, the Attica title, the AFCS title, maybe try and win the Fremont title again, depending on how things go. And then bigger scheme was, really want to try and lock into my first Kings Royal. Plan on going back out and run the Knoxville Nationals. Would really like to try and, make the show or come close to making the show again. We plan on doing some outlaw races at Sharon. We went and did a couple of those last year. We really like Sharon, feel it's a track that we run well at. And, we feel like if things go our way that we can put in good results with the outlaws there. For us, it's constantly, building. Jeff Ward, the car owner, is a really good guy and puts money into the program. So our goal is not just to, just be good at, one or two tracks. We want to continue to build the program and, be good as many places as we can be.
Is there something that you would look back and maybe tell yourself?
Man, if I could go back and tell myself one thing, it would be just to calm down and to enjoy it. When I was younger, I crashed so much because I just, I wanted to prove myself, and I just had this mentality that I had to prove everybody wrong, and had to. I think at times I really cost myself more than I helped myself being that way. So that's definitely the one thing I wish I could change. But I'm very grateful for where I've gotten. The friends I have now and the teams I've drove for. Very grateful. Made some really good friends. Zach Myers, now my crew chief, is longtime friend, and his dad's actually was a crew chief for me early in my career, and still a friend to this day. So people like that I really appreciate and really value.
Well, Cap, you have put together quite a long list of accomplishments and accolades in your career. We appreciate your time. We look forward to monitoring your progress and your success in the 2025 season. And again, can't thank you enough for joining us on the first installment of DIRTVision's Weekend Warrior.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.